In the shadows of modern warfare, there's a different kind of army, one that answers to no country, only to its paymasters. It was built to be the perfect, deniable weapon for a state, right up until it pointed that weapon back at its creators. Today, we're diving into the story of the Wagner Group, its rise, its shocking rebellion, and its really strange afterlife.
You know, when you think of an army, you think of soldiers fighting for a country, right? For a flag, for a nation. That's how it's been for centuries. But things have changed. A totally new kind of soldier has shown up on the battlefield.
Yeah, this is an army whose loyalty isn't to a nation, it's to a contract. And their motivation? Well, it's way simpler and honestly, a lot more dangerous. We're talking about pure, cold, hard cash. And that difference is everything, right? One soldier takes an oath to their country. The other? Their loyalty is literally bought and sold. Welcome to the world of the modern mercenary. And sitting right at the top of that world, you have the Wagner Group, a name that, let's be honest, has become the poster child for a new, incredibly brutal kind of shadow war. So where did this whole thing even come from? Well, this wasn't an accident. Wagner was designed from the get-go to be a ghost, to operate in those messy, gray areas where regular armies just can't, or maybe won't go. And man, the guys who set it up, it was kind of the perfect, shadowy partnership. You've got Dmitry Utkin, a seriously tough ex-Spetsnaz commander. And then you have Yevgeny Prigozhin, the money guy, a powerful oligarch with deep, deep pockets, and, crucially, Kremlin connections. Their whole goal? Super simple. Create a military force that Russia could use to project power, but could also deny ever existed. No official fingerprints left behind.
Okay, so what really makes a Wagner fighter different from, say, a regular soldier? It all comes down to who they are, how they're trained, and the fact that, well, they have absolutely zero rules.
Technically, on paper, Wagner is what you'd call a private military company, or PMC, a business that provides armed security for money. But let's be real. Wagner wasn't just some security team. Nope. They were a full-on combat army for hire, and they stretched the definition of a PMC to its absolute breaking point. And a huge part of their effectiveness and brutality was who they hired. I mean, think about this mix. You've got elite ex-Russian special forces guys fighting alongside hardened convicts pulled straight out of prison, plus foreign fighters just looking for a paycheck. You put that all together, you get a uniquely ruthless and incredibly effective fighting machine. See, this is the key difference. Regular armies, they have to follow rules, international laws of war, things like that. Wagner? They operated in a total legal black hole. They were completely off the leash. Their playbook was full of stuff that no official army would ever get away with.
So if it's not about love of country, what's it all for? It's simple. Profit. Cold, hard cash. Wagner got really, really good at turning chaos into money. They weren't fighting for land in the way you might think. They were fighting for control over things like gold mines, diamond mines, and oil fields. And we're not talking about a small side hustle here. This was a massive, global business model. They'd go to unstable governments and say, hey, we'll provide you with military muscle. And in return, they'd get exclusive billion-dollar rights to that country's natural resources. It was a brutal but brilliant business plan. And that brutality, it literally became their brand. Horrific videos got leaked that showed their methods were just savage, and it was all designed to terrorize people. This wasn't just random violence, it was psychological warfare. Wagner basically became the global symbol for how cruel a mercenary army could be. Okay, so with this incredibly brutal, but you have to admit, effective model, Wagner started spreading out. They built a truly global footprint. They weren't just some local problem anymore. They were a force that could show up and literally change the outcome of a war on a different continent. I mean, just look at where they operated. The front lines in Ukraine, the civil wars in Syria and Libya, all across Africa, Mali, the Central African Republic, Sudan. The list goes on. The rule was simple. Wherever Wagner showed up, the entire battlefield changed. They were a game changer for whoever was signing their checks.
So for years, Wagner was this perfect, deniable tool for Russia, an asset they could use and then pretend they knew nothing about. But here's the thing about creating a monster like that. A monster with its own ambitions and its own powerful leader, eventually it might just turn on you. And in 2023, the whole world got a front row seat to see exactly what happens when the weapon points back at its owner.
This is it. This is the moment the whole experiment just went completely off the rails. Yevgeny Prigozhin, the money man behind Wagner, went on the record and launched an open rebellion, not against an enemy in Africa or the Middle East, but against Russia's own top military brass.
And it happened so fast. In just 24 hours, the world was glued to their screens, just stunned. Prigozhin's guys took over a major Russian military HQ without a fight and then started a convoy, rolling straight from Moscow. It was a direct, unbelievable challenge to the Kremlin. And for a hot minute there, it felt like anything could happen, until, just as suddenly, Prigozhin called the whole thing off. So after that wild mutiny and then Prigozhin's very mysterious death in a plane crash a few months later, most people thought, okay, that's the end of the Wagner Group. But nope, the reality is way, way more complicated than that. So the big question is, with Prigozhin gone, did Wagner just fall apart? The short answer, no, not at all. The name Wagner might be finished, but the monster they created, that didn't die. It didn't die, it fractured. You can think of it like shattering glass, the pieces scattered everywhere, but all those trained fighters, all that equipment and infrastructure, that all remained. I mean, think about it. You've got thousands of battle-hardened mercenaries, massive logistical networks, and those billion-dollar resource deals. You don't just throw that away. It's too valuable. So instead, it was all just absorbed, given a new coat of paint, and placed under new management, much of it now reporting more directly to the Russian government. The shadow army didn't disappear. It just evolved.
And that's really the legacy of Wagner, isn't it? It's a huge cautionary tale that leaves us with some pretty terrifying questions. When a country decides to outsource its wars to private companies, who's really in control of the violence? And maybe more importantly, in a world full of these shadow armies, who actually has to answer for the consequences?